If you love design and also are interested in one day starting your own business and doing your own thing, freelancing is the easiest way to get started. But I don't think you should be waiting till you feel fully qualified enough and feel like you've finished all your studies and you've had lots of practice, maybe you've been in the industry a while. I think you should be starting while you're still a student. And if you haven't watched my video about why I think you should, then be sure to check that video out. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how you actually go about starting as a freelancer and how to actually go about it when you're in those very early stages and maybe still studying, or you've only just finished your studies, or if you're self-taught and you're maybe still in another job and you're just tinkering with it on the side. Today's video is going to help you get started, whatever stage you're at, whether you feel ready or you don't feel ready, because I think you should start now. When it comes to business, freelancing is the lowest barrier to entry. You can easily get started without any startup costs. You can just put out there what services you want to offer people and start making money and taking jobs. And when it comes to the design world, you don't have to wait around to try and get a job. You can easily start freelancing. And it's not as hard as you think trying to get some early clients. Sure, it might mean that you might be not charging a huge amount at first, but it's not that hard just to jump in there, get started and start doing a bit of work. And you'll be able to start building up that portfolio, getting your name out there and getting experience and start being an actual designer rather than just learning about design. I'm Tabitha Emma and I started freelancing full-time in 2010 after I finished my studies. But while I was still a student, I was still taking on the odd freelance jobs, as well as running a shop where I was making handmade goods and also selling artwork. And so I tried all different things to get my name out there, really trying to push myself to establish myself in the industry even before I had finished my studies. So the 3 things you need to do to get started are setting yourself up, getting your name known, and finding jobs. So the very first thing you need to do to make sure that you're doing this legally is deciding, do you want to run under your own personal name or a business name? And if it's a business name, registering that, and then making sure that whatever country you're in, that you're abiding by the laws to get your business set up. So in Australia, that means you need to get an ABN, and if you want to have a business name, registering that business name, and then you need to be sure that you're tracking everything for your taxes. Make sure before you do anything that you research the laws in your country and the things you need to do to get yourself set up. And you might think, well, couldn't I just do it on the side as a hobby and not get all official just yet? But people will take you more seriously when they hire you if you're properly set up, and then if things suddenly take off, you're ready to go. All right, the next thing you need to be doing is getting yourself set up ready for networking. Because if you're going to be going out there and trying to get your name known, connecting with different people, trying to find clients, you need to be sure you have everything in place for doing that. So that means things like creating yourself a logo, getting a basic website up, and some business cards. So when it comes to the website side of things, you may want to make sure you grab that domain name that's your business name or your own personal name. And you could set up either a basic page or a portfolio type page, or you can start a blog. Now, when I first got started, what I did was start a blog. For me, I thought this was a great way to get my name seen and known, because with a blog, you're constantly putting out new content, keeps it fresh, and Google loves that. And it also helped me connect with different people by having that sort of community around the actual blog itself. So to me, rather than just a static page, something that was constantly changing, evolving, and new things being added to it, seemed like a really great way to get myself seen and known, and it really worked well. But if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed by the idea of blogging, then just getting a page set up with examples of your work, how to contact you, all those kind of details that someone that might want to hire you would want to see. Let's talk about how to get your name out there and start scoring some jobs. So as I already mentioned, one of the things I did was starting a blog. Now in those days, blogging was a lot bigger. Obviously, blogging today is not as big as it used to be because this was when social media was still in its baby days. So you can also microblog. So by this, I mean things like getting on Instagram, sharing examples of your work and talking about what you're doing, your process, maybe a bit about your student life, all that sort of stuff. Or it could be on another platform like Facebook, wherever you feel most comfortable, the platform that feels best for you and where you feel that you can connect to people most easily. Find a platform where you can start sharing your work, talking about your work, and creating a community around that, and just be able to connect and talk to people. because that's where opportunities can come up. People won't be like, oh, you're a student, I don't want to hire you. They're going to be looking at your images and your copy, what you're saying, they'll actually be looking at your work, and if your work and the things you talk about and your personality resonates with someone, then they're going to want to hire you. It doesn't matter if you're still studying. It's just simply about creating that personal connection. Now, this may sound like a pretty obvious one, but actually let people know that you're available for freelance work. When I decided to go full-time as a freelancer, one of the first things I did was simply go on my blog and put up a little banner, up near the top of my banner that just said, available for freelance work. And then I did the same on my Twitter account and Facebook. And I sent out an email newsletter to, anyone that I had on a contact list and just said, I'm available. I can do some freelance work. And that's how I got started. Before I knew it, I had enough work to keep me going full time. I was amazed by the power of just simply saying, hey, I'm available. Because otherwise people are sure they might see your work or you're doing cool things, but they might think, oh, she's still a student, or oh, she's just sharing some cool stuff. But if they realize, no, you're actually available, you're actually willing to take on work, then it sort of makes you a bit more approachable, and then they know, oh, she's looking for work. And maybe if they're looking for a designer, they might think, oh, maybe I should work with her because I really like what she's doing. Because you're still a student and your rate's low, someone that might be struggling to afford a designer that's been in the industry a long time might think, oh, that's a great way for me to get some help with some design work that I need help with. And then they're supporting you and you're helping them. But don't just simply blast it out there, saying, oh, I'm available. Also make sure that you directly contact the people you have in your contacts. So if you've already got some sort of social media following or email list or just your friends and family, directly let people know, hey, I'm available. Here's some examples of my work. When you go out to parties and things, start telling people, start talking to people about it. Make sure you keep mentioning it all the time so people are aware. You never know where an opportunity could come up. Sometimes even with your friends and family, they might just want to support you. And maybe there was a job that they were thinking about trying to do themselves or hire out to someone else. But because they now know that you are available to do it, another one that I was doing a lot of that I found quite good was entering design competitions. Now you might think, how am I going to actually make any money out of this? But I actually did win some money out of a competition. I did one competition that I ended up winning, and they printed this big banner that is still in Sydney that's for the Paddington markets, and I won money for that. You might think, oh, it's just a competition, I'll get nothing out of that, but sometimes you can win it. And even if you don't win it, it ends up being a great portfolio piece because the competition is an actual real brief and not student work. And then two, other people might just see your work. If it's the kind of competition where they list, some of the finalists or people have entered and show off the work, you never know who might see that and just really like what you did. I was actually surprised how many people just didn't bother with competitions. A lot of other students thought, oh, I don't want to do that. And so it's easier than you might think to win these things or get seen and noticed by entering. And another thing I did was submit my work to various magazines or books or publications. So I made sure I looked out for any opportunities that came up where they were looking for designers or illustrators, where they wanted to showcase work, and submitted my work. It's important to just keep your eyes open, look out for opportunities, research, really dig into your industry and look around locally about the different events and things that are going on and where they're looking for people to submit things. Just look for as much opportunity as you possibly can and submit to as many things as you can, because you never know when it might get in there and how it might help you get your name out there and get you noticed. There were even things where I had people years later email me and say that they saw my work in something that was published. And when you finally do snag a client, be sure to try and make the most of referrals. So do the very best you can, go above and beyond, and then at the end of the job, ask them, do you know anyone else that needs work? And keep me in mind if anyone does mention that they're looking for a designer. It's amazing how quickly referrals start building upon themselves to the point that you're not needing to put yourself out there as much and you're getting more and more referral work. So referrals are really powerful. I know those first few clients are probably going to be the hardest, but once you get going, really push for the referral. And if you're ever doing any kind of web design for people, make sure that you put in the footer that you were the one that designed it, because often that is a great little sneaky referral that people might go to the website and be like, wow, I love that design, that's real cool, who designed that? I'd love something similar, and they'll go to the bottom, find your link and find you that way. I've had a lot of people come to me that way. They've, really love a blog and they're like, oh, I love what you did for so-and-so. I'd love, to work with you. And another way you can be using social media is showing behind the scenes. So don't just show that polished work, but also show your processes, things that are going on. If you go to shows, if you're working on a project, start showing all those little bits and pieces behind the scenes, because it helps people connect with you and get to know you better. And remember those business cards I told you should get printed off early on? Make sure that you carry them with you wherever you go, because you never know when an opportunity could come up. Don't just save them for when you go out to, socializing, networking events. Keep them all the time. And in those early days, as much as possible, seek opportunities to get networking and meet people. Whether it's, going to events, conferences, art shows, markets, any kind of events where you think the kind of people you want to work with might be hanging out, or people that might be able to introduce you to people that would make good clients. Really put yourself out there, get social, start meeting people. Now the next one, you might be a bit about this one, but I suggest you start by charging junior rates. Now you might be able to, up your rates really quickly as things, progress, and if things go well quite quickly off the bat. In order to get those early clients, you probably want to be charging lower rates because you haven't got that experience behind you, and if you're still studying, maybe, you don't feel as qualified enough. It might make you feel better about doing it too, by starting off with lower rates, and then as your experience builds, start putting that price up and up. Another thing to look out for are agents. If you're really struggling to pick up clients yourself, or you struggle with that whole self-promotion thing, finding an agent that can help you find work can be really helpful. Some agents may find it really helpful to have someone that's just a junior, because some of the bigger designers that they've got get booked out a lot and they're in high demand, but somebody new and fresh might be able to take on those jobs that they're struggling to find anyone else to do. So if you find it hard to find work yourself, trying to find an agent that can help you find work can be really beneficial. Obviously, they're going to take a cut of what you make, but if they're going to be able to help you get that work, then it pays. Another great idea is just to actually start doing designing even if you haven't got any clients. Make some digital pre-made products. So this could be, templates, logos, any kind of graphics, whatever graphics you enjoy making the most and you feel that, your talents shine the most in. Start making them anyway without clients and, putting up for sale as pre-mades. Because then you're getting people that feel that they can't quite afford a designer might find it that way. Or people might come across those things and think, wow, I love your style, but I don't want it to look like everyone else's, so can I hire you? So it sort of helps you get seen and start showing off your work. So if you haven't got very much work to actually showcase, you're actually creating pre-made stuff, and building up that confidence in selling as well can be really helpful. If you start seeing that people are buying your design work, then you'll start to feel more confident about putting your work out there and start to feel like, oh, people really like my stuff. They're willing to pay money for my design work. So that can be a really great way of getting started. And it also can be a lot easier to get that kind of work seen by using platforms like Etsy or Creative Market, where they're helping you promote and get your work seen. You just have to start making it. And then lastly, other than the traditional social media like Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, also use more specific designery type networks where you can share your work. So these can be places like The Loop, Behance, Dribble, or DeviantArt. The more places that you can get your work out there and try to get seen, it helps you get your name noticed and get yourself into Google more and start establishing yourself online. So I hope these tips helped, and good luck. Let me know in the comments if you're just getting started with freelancing and what tips are you most excited about. What do you want to really just dive into and start doing so that you can start getting clients, start doing work, and start making money as a designer. Remember, the sooner you get started, the better, because you probably are going to make mistakes and you want to start building that experience up and start just delving into the design world. So stop just wondering about it and dreaming up about it. Start now. And if you want to learn more about design, creativity, and branding, be sure to subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you next time.